So I've just gone 1 year alcohol free. Maybe you're thinking about doing the same thing, so hopefully this video can help you out with achieving your goals. Before I get into how I managed to go 1 year alcohol free, I thought I might start with a bit about my story with alcohol. I don't consider myself alcoholic. I think I had a pretty typical relationship with alcohol, but my form of alcoholism was predominantly binge drinking. I would go all week without necessarily needing a drink, sometimes multiple weeks. But when I did partake in the odd beer, it would quickly escalate into half a dozen or more beers. I would often have experiences where I might have embarrassed myself or got too drunk, and that carried on from my early sort of youth and my early interactions with drinking. And I never really grew out of it, which is quite embarrassing to say, but now that I'm a year alcohol free, I'm happy to kind of admit it. Everyone's got a different story with alcohol or other substances. I'm not an expert or a clinician, so I'm just sharing with you what my story is. And hopefully if you can relate to my story, you can also use some of my advice about how you might be able to also go alcohol free if that's something that you're thinking about doing. A year ago today, I was on a camping trip with my family and I had a few drinks playing golf, and then we eventually drank around the campsite, and I woke up the next morning feeling a little under the weather, and I actually also overdrank the night before, not in like a crazy way or a malicious way or anything like that, but I definitely had memory loss from and blackout episodes from the night before drinking. And that wasn't something that was unfortunately uncommon, but I did wake up in the morning feeling really terrible and also feeling like I've got to stop doing this, and it didn't feel right that someone in their late 30s, I mean, I'm almost 40, I'm almost 39, would be drinking to a point where they're actually blacking out, even though it's only a casual environment around a campsite with a few people. And also people we didn't know that well. So again, I felt a little bit ashamed and embarrassed that I might have, of the behavior that I might have portrayed, but I couldn't remember. By all reports, my behavior was fine, but the fact that I couldn't remember was quite embarrassing for me. Decided to put a pin in it, and I said to myself, I'm going to have a little bit of a break from drinking. And that break grew into this whole year of being alcohol free. After I'd been on my drinking break for about 1 week, that's where it really reinforced with me the need to stop and have a decent break from alcohol. And this is where I think anyone who's trying to give up something or start something, you really need a good reason why. So I didn't know my reason why at the start. Obviously, I started an alcohol-free period of a couple of weeks because of just a bad experience or an embarrassing experience. And I just felt like I needed a reset or a bit of a detox. But the reason I sustained my alcohol-free period, now that I reflect on it, is a very personal reason. And I think this is true of anything. If you want to stick to something, a goal or an objective or a lifestyle change, you really need to have your reason why. Now, I'm not saying this reason's for everybody, but this is my reason why. So I have 3 children, and I'd been on my detox for a couple of weeks, and my youngest daughter was doing some chores around the house. She's about 4, and we made a deal. She said, hey, if I clean these toys up, Dad, and be really good this morning, can we go across to the 7-Eleven and get a Slurpee? And I said, yeah, that sounds a great idea. And she said, and Dad, you can get a beer. And that made me sort of stop and reflect on that. And what I'd realized is through my behavior over just the course of her early years, she'd associated my happiness with alcohol. And I really thought that's a terrible example to be setting for
non-alcoholic beers from the store to road
anybody,
test.
but in particular for my kids.
And at the end, I'm going to be giving you my verdict
luckily,
on
my
which one of these
youngest
I would
is
actually pay my
only
money
2.
to drink.
I hopefully haven't had a chance to rub off on him yet, but I certainly had already given my older 2 daughters the impression that Dad's reward, Dad's relaxation, Dad's lifestyle is centered around alcohol. And for me, that was really unsatisfactory. And when I reflect on it, every time I thought about having to avoid a situation where I might start drinking again, all I needed to do to motivate myself was think about my kids and that conversation with my daughter in particular. So I would encourage you, if you're struggling to figure out how you can make a lifestyle change, really reflect on your reasons why. And that's my own personal reason why, but you may have a different reason why. But unless you can really identify that, I think you're really going to struggle to break any habit, and in particular, with substance abuse, those habits can be even more difficult to break. Now, giving up alcohol is also not straightforward. As anyone's tried to give up anything knows, there's always going to be situations that are challenging. And with alcohol, I think we've normalized it in society, at least in Western society, that you need to be drinking, particularly in social settings. So I did find it challenging in social settings such as work functions, surprisingly. Although these are professional settings, there's also an expectation that you partake in the drinking and in the partying outside of the work settings, in the social settings, which is ironic. I also found it difficult around general social settings, barbecues, sporting events, all those sorts of things. Originally, I found I had to give excuses or perhaps hide the fact that I was not drinking. But now, 12 months into my journey, I just tell people I'm not drinking. A lot of people ask why, and I just say, look, I don't drink. I haven't drank since September, and I don't want to drink, and I don't feel like I need to excuse it anymore. I've also found that I used to believe that I wasn't having fun if I wasn't drinking, or at least subconsciously that's how it felt. I think I was awkward in social settings without alcohol, and that's just something I needed to overcome. And now I don't feel awkward in social settings without alcohol. I've forced myself to grow up and behave like an adult, and to really use my skills in terms of interpersonal skills to build meaningful relationships without the need for alcohol. So that's been really interesting to grow and to learn that. And some of the other tricks that might help people, I have found that drinking non-alcoholic beer in social settings does take the pressure off a little bit. People don't necessarily ask you if you're not drinking, if you're holding a non-alcoholic drink, or even just a drink, right? A Coke, a Pepsi, water. It does take off that stigma, or take away that discussion point that, hey, you don't have a drink in your hand, or I'm about to buy a round of drinks and you're not partaking. I think as much of it is other people's become uncomfortable because they can't understand why you're not partaking in the drinking or in this, and they believe that you're being perhaps antisocial, or they may themselves feel that they are being antisocial by drinking around you. I think everyone just needs to get over all that, and if you can get over it yourself personally, then you will definitely have success if you're trying to have an alcohol-free period. Some of the benefits of having not been drinking for a year, obviously without alcohol, you don't have the blackouts, you don't have the hangovers, you don't have the feeling of shame or unease after a night out, particularly if you've overindulged. And those are all sort of subjective things, but I definitely found I'm more productive if I'm not drinking because of the mornings, particularly with young kids. Any father or parents out there know if you do overindulge, the next morning your responsibilities aren't going to wait for you, and you're going to have to function as a normal person, and it's a lot easier to do that when you're not hungover. So that's been a huge bonus.
And your skin glows.
I've also found
Plus,
that my work
you'll gain confidence
has
and
improved,
self-respect
my output at work,
like never before.
my focus, all those sort of subjective things by changing my lifestyle have been great. And I think I've saved a lot of money. I've never really calculated it, but it wouldn't be hard to spend $50 a week on alcohol in the form of beers or wine just for drinking at home. If you're a couple of glass a week drinker, that's not unheard of. And if you were to go out to a restaurant or for a meal, adding 3 or 4 glasses of wine or beers to a bill adds up quite quickly. It's $30 or $40 every time that you go out. So I've definitely saved probably thousands of dollars this year by choosing not to drink alcohol. So that's been great. Some things that I didn't experience, which I was hoping to, was I thought that calories that I was taking in through alcohol were making it harder for me to lose weight, and I expected weight loss as an outcome of not drinking. I think a lot of people do, and a lot of people experience weight loss when they, take something out of their diet, like alcohol, particularly if you're drinking excess alcohol. Unfortunately, I didn't experience any weight loss on account of not drinking alcohol, and I didn't increase my calories through other liquid calories, so I didn't add in extra cola or extra sugary soft drinks or extra drinks. In fact, any soft drink I drink, I've shared before on this channel, is usually a diet or a sugar-free version of that soft drink, and I don't drink juices and those sorts of things routinely. So yeah, surprisingly, although I took that massive volume of calories out of my diet, it didn't contribute to any weight loss whatsoever, which suggests that I've accommodated that decrease in calories from the alcohol with an increase in calories somewhere else, which is weird. But yeah, so unfortunately I can't say that not drinking for a year will dramatically change your waistline. It certainly didn't for me, but it may for you. And I can't say that it affected any of my relationships. So that's a good thing. And some people out there might be wondering, if I stop drinking, does that mean I have to stop hanging out with these friends, these people, doing these things that I like doing? I haven't changed anything. I still go to golf with buddies, but I don't drink beer when I go to golf. I still go on vacations with friends and family. I just didn't drink when we're on vacation. I still go to family barbecues and gatherings. I just didn't drink at those things. None of the people that I'm close to have judged me or thought it's anything different than just something different that I'm doing. They may tell you otherwise, I don't know. They haven't told me that they think it's any different, or they haven't told me that they can't be friends with me because I'm choosing not to change this part of my lifestyle. So anyway, I'm hoping that this advice or this information can inspire you if you're looking to do an alcohol-free period, or perhaps you're looking to give up some other habit that you've developed in your life that you want to change. So like I said, remember to make sure you know your reason why. And if that reason is important enough, every time you reflect on that reason, you're going to make the choices that you need to make. If you do suffer from alcoholism or you are an alcoholic, like I said, I'm not a professional. You should always seek professional advice and speak to your doctor, or there are many free services out there that you can call to help you with alcohol or substance abuse. So definitely look into that if you're having struggles with alcohol or substance abuse. You've come this far to watch my video. Take the steps, get the help you need, and hopefully my advice has helped you as well.